evening. You're watching the Newsroom as we continue to cover developments at the Arthur Chung Conference Centre, where a national recount of ballots cast on March 2nd was due to begin earlier today. The process never got underway. Several containers are now in the compound here, we suppose in preparation for that recount. We want to talk with Priya Manik Chan from the opposition PPP because she has been in the compound. As we reported earlier, we're not allowed past the fence, so we really have no idea of what's happening, and so we depend on those who are going in and out to let us know. So Priya was there when there was a bit of drama earlier tonight. Could you tell us what happened?
So what happened is we were invited here, by the way, because we were told that the recounts would begin today. You remember there was an agreement that said they would start at 9. Even if there were some glitches, then at least by after lunch. When it was getting dusky, we saw Vector Control come into the yard and say that they were instructed to spray. Doctors in the room, like doctors in the compound, like Frank Anthony, said, but corona doesn't get affected, but corona is not spread by mosquitoes, so why are you spraying for mosquitoes? The guys said those were their instructions. Of course, they didn't tell us who gave them the instructions, but the former Minister of Health is Walter Lawrence. And they went upstairs, they started spraying, the lights were shut off. And then all of a sudden, police came in, formed themselves into a human barrier, and started moving us out of the compound. Robeson Ben, Commissioner Robeson Ben, Commissioner of the Guyana Elections Commission, stayed in the compound. He was always in the compound. He was all the way over there at the ballot boxes. We're very concerned about leaving the boxes, Neil, because we saw what happened when we left the statements of poll. They disappeared. Nobody knows where they are up to now. And what we know, what they say they used were not statements of poll issued by GCOM. So we're very concerned about that. The police took us all the way to the front. I got permission to come back and just to make sure he was fine. Came back in and found him on the ground with police officers standing over him, vested and riot or TSU, whatever they were. And so he's hurt his shoulder. They were trying to physically move him when he fell on the ramp behind there. He's physically injured. He's gone to the hospital. So that's what happened there. The thing is, I find it a travesty. Imagine in 2020, we have all these hundreds of people here watching ballot boxes to make sure people don't steal votes. It's a travesty. Imagine the time we're wasting here and what we could be doing with that time. We have to be able to trust our institutions. GCOMs, I don't think there's a person in this country who trusts GCOM, including people who might want them to give a particular decision that GCOM may want to be leaning towards. Nobody trusts them. And this is a crying shame. The people who brought us to this really should examine themselves, look at their conscience. They are subhumans in my view. This should never be somewhere a country is in 2020.
So we understand that one representative of each party were allowed in eventually into the compound. Is that happening? Because we can't see anybody at the moment, so we're not sure.
So yes, and I'm sorry you can't see. This is also a travesty that in this time, when the press has access to technology that could bring news live to people, you're shut out. And so we're standing in a trench here so that you could get news. But yes, the arrangement is that the same arrangement we had going forward, that they stopped unilaterally, that each one representative from each contesting party would be allowed to watch the ballot box, and there can be shifts if we want. We hope that doesn't change, but as you can see at the front of the building, there's practically a vigil going on there with quite a number of people who, not only from the PPP, ordinary citizens who want to make sure these ballots are protected, and persons from the new parties also.
Could you explain to us how the containers are secured at the moment?
So if you look at them, if you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, because there was also a complaint that the locks were facing the other way, which was a matter of concern for people, that parties were allowed to put their locks onto the containers, and the ballot boxes with ballots are in those containers.
You have obviously been in the ground elections time and the night after the votes were counted at the polling station. How are the actual ballot boxes secured? Can you explain that to us?
So you had parties had the option of putting their seal onto the ballot boxes and putting
what does a seal mean?
Different things. It could be putting a mark on the box that would allow a party to determine if that box was opened. So the PPP has a particular seal that is placed on the box. So if the box was open, the seal would be broken, and we would know that that box was entered into it in our absence. Other parties put different things. You could also put locks on the actual box, padlocks, and so we did that too. And they have those kinds of features.
Okay. So, do you have any idea of whether the count will actually start tonight?
Well, I can't imagine why it didn't start today. 2 days ago, President Granger, in the eyes of the Caribbean, in front of the whole Caribbean through its leaders, agreed that he was going to recount the whole country. He asked for a recount. Granger from the APNU AFC asked for a recount. Barajak there from the PPP said, yes, of course, your time has passed for recount in all the other regions, but let's be transparent, you can have the recount. Let's recount the whole country. From then to now, you've heard excuse after excuse. They need a proper document. They need all this in a document form, an aid memoir. Then they brought in the people to spray, and then the lights, and then police to move us. I mean, they don't seem to want to recount. I've never seen a political party or any party who won something resist proving that they won in this manner. And it is reprehensible. They should be judged harshly for this. In the future, they cannot be trusted with people's right to choose their government. And you know, the saddening part for me in all of this, Neil, it's not just the APNU. I mean, we know that the PNC has a history of this and they have a bad name with it, but we have the AFC, who on Saturday, half an hour before this agreement became public, were sitting at a press conference saying, we accept those results and we acknowledge that the world, not the PPP, all the small parties, the new parties, and the whole world said something is wrong with the results, that they're fraudulent, that they're not credible. We believe they're credible, and we're waiting to be for those results to be finalized so we can be sworn in. The AFC said that. Where are people at every single coalition party, every single small party in the coalition has stood up with the coalition. So you have Justice Hall, they defended it. The WPA said absolutely nothing. Keith Scott's party, whatever the name is, he said nothing. GAP is supporting this. This is reprehensible, and they stand alone. The AP and UAFC, they stand alone against the world, against the small parties, against the people of this country. But they could never look at people again in their eyes and say, trust us. They're stealing from us our very right to choose a government.
So obviously the PPP will be standing by all night to look at the box.
PPP has that capacity, yes. And like I said, what really pleases my soul far more than knowing that we have that capacity is seeing ordinary people come out there at the front there who are not related to us. I don't know how they vote, but they're not in the party, they're not with the party, and they're there standing with us almost like in a vigil style to do the same thing, help look at the boxes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Priya Manik Chan there from the, you can go ahead. Priya Manik Chan there from the opposition PPP. She was one of the party agents inside of the compound of the Arthur Chung Conference Centre, where containers containing ballot boxes have been arriving. There was one that arrived when we were last on air just before that, so maybe about an hour ago. So from what we can tell, maybe 4 or 5 in there already. And of course there's a vigil by both sides tonight, guarding from the outside party agents in the inside, looking at those containers, making sure that nobody gets in there until this national recount of the votes cast on March 2nd are recounted with a high-level supervisory team from the CARICOM Secretariat. CARICOM really, they were pulled together by the chairman of CARICOM, Mia Mottley, the Prime Minister of Barbados, at the invitation of the President and the approval of the opposition leader. So, as we have been reporting, the process has not started because the Guyana Elections Commission is awaiting a signed document by the President, the opposition leader, and the CARICOM Secretariat to say that they basically agreed to this and that they will go ahead with it. The chair of the Guyana Elections Commission, Justice Claudette Singh, has said as much that she's committed to this process and that she will see it through. So we will continue to bring live updates for you from the Arthur Chung Conference Centre. You're watching the Newsroom.